that what's more important and what's a more smarter choice for the Gen Z. Is it taking a gap year after their school versus getting into a university? So what do university leaders think about it? What do school leaders think about it? Is the journey of self-learning or self-realization more important, or a structured simulation of education more important in the times when we see the college degree not being given that much importance when recruitment happens? So what does the earlier generation think that the next generation should be doing about it? And how should they be dealing it? Is the gap year more relevant? Is the university more relevant? What makes more sense so that they have a secure
Good evening,
future?
everyone. The question before us is not whether a gap year is better. It is what is right is for the student. It is to choose this gap year at the right time. So traditionally, students move directly from school to college. Today, we, however, see Gen Z is growing up in a world. They have lots of choices beyond formal education. They have access to online learning, internships, entrepreneurship, volunteering, global exposure, and skill-based careers. Interestingly, in countries like UK and Australia, all the developed countries, they have 5 to 15% of the students taking a gap year before entering university. In India, the number is much lower. Most students move directly from school to higher education. Yet, after graduation, many young people choose to gain work experience before pursuing postgraduate studies, especially when it comes to a professional degree like MBA. Okay, what does this tell us? Actually, I feel it's like we have lots of, it tells learning does not happen only inside the classroom. Experience can also be very powerful teachers outside. A well planned gap year can help students gain clarity, build confidence, develop life skills, explore interests, and make more informed career decisions. So, however, the key word is planned. I would say planned. A gap year is not a year off, it's a year invested purposefully. At the same time, university education continues to offer structured learning, intellectual development, mentorship, professional network, and recognized qualifications that remain important for career growth. Having spent nearly 3 decades in higher education, I feel that I've seen successful individuals emerge from both pathways. The differentiator is rarely the path itself. It is a purpose, discipline, and commitment behind the choice. Therefore, the discussion should not be gap year versus university. Instead, it should be about helping young people choose a path that aligns with their aspirations, strengths, and long-term goals. I look forward to hearing the perspectives of my fellow panelists, school leaders, and young participants as we explore the important question today. Thank you.
Namaste to all the panelists, Dakshaji. I would like to tell, gap year. Now, if you see government policy, NEP, National Education Policy itself, it says that when you are pursuing a particular course, you can leave in between. So why gap year is required is basically if you want to do some kind of internship with some industry, or you want to learn a new skill which is going to help you in what I mean to say, whatever you are studying, or you want to, go for some, online course. So what I have seen in university education is roughly 80% of the students do not have that thinking power that why they are doing this university course itself. Degree, it may be degree or a diploma kind of thing, but what I suggest is this gap year, I don't think that it is that much what I meant to say useful for the people who are going in for structured course like engineering, law, and medicine, where guided mentorship of all the teachers are continuously required. And if you have any gap, it is gap in the study, then loss of interest and all that will happen. But those who are having entrepreneurship mindset, those who are having something new skill they want to learn, for them this gap is required, and NEP supports that. Means they can leave the course in between, and they will get proper certification. After 1 year, some certificate. After 2 years, some diploma. After 3 years, some degree and honors degree after 4 years. This is how we should go about. So a lot of AI is coming, online, and nowadays many universities are offering adaptive learning. You can, adapt to particular learning path. That is all required. So it's after the choice. And one last one thing I want to add is, you see, the student should be trained, because AI, advent of AI will introduce lot of loss in jobs and all. So there are certain 14 kinds of thinking, like common sense thinking, out of box thinking. Then it can be, what I meant to say, system thinking, group thinking. All these thinkings, 14 kinds of thinkings are there, where the student will get exact idea to take proper and informed decisions. So I suggest that these students should go for problem solving and take better decisions. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you so much, Doug, for giving me this opportunity to speak. And as Anita ma'am said, the topic should have been the way that she mentioned. I have been counseling a lot of students, especially the teens, the 10s and the 12s, and I asked them, what are your plans? What are your next plans? So they keep on telling me, ma'am, we had done our schooling, is now university, and then we'll be doing our jobs, and then we'll be a successful person, maybe a successful businessman, maybe a successful entrepreneur. But today Gen Z is asking a different question. What if success isn't one size fits all? Right. So I believe that for many young people, a well planned gap year can be a smarter choice than rushing into university. Why? Because choosing our future should not be a race. You know, we live in a generation unlike any before. The Gen Z is a generation that is unlike any before, and AI is changing industries. Yes, people are earning through content creations, entrepreneurships, digital marketing, and XYZs. That didn't even exist a decade ago. But yet, many teenagers are expected to decide their entire career path at the age of 17 or 18. Right. So, how many of us truly know what we want to do for the next 40 years? Right. So, a gap year gives young people something precious, and that is time to discover themselves. So, a gap year doesn't mean that we are doing nothing and we are sitting back at home. A gap year can be meaningful if the students are into internships, if the students are doing some volunteership, traveling, maybe learning some new skills, maybe exploring their different career paths. And it is not a year off. For me, I don't find it out as an year off, because I asked my students, why you don't want to think about what you want to choose? They said, ma'am, my resume would be affected. Ma'am, people would judge me that what did you do for that 1 year? So a very good author, Napoleon Hill, he said, think twice before you speak, because your words and influence will plant the seed of either success or failure. Similarly, think twice before choosing a career path, because that decision may either shape you, or maybe an exempted failure for us. For me, let me conclude that, a year spent discovering who you are is never a year wasted. In a world that is obsessed with speed, sometimes the bravest thing a young person can do is pause, reflect, and choose wisely. Thank you so much, Dax. Thank
Now,
you.
I would just like to tell you that this is something when we are dealing with the generation, we were the generation where it was easily the things were accessible. Now, Gen Z, they are based on the skill based learning. Okay, so I would not rather say that Gen Z should go for a straight path, they should keep a gap in between. It is about more things the Gen Zs are doing. They know their visions are clear. Usually, if I talk about ourselves, it was most of the students were based on their percentages. What percentages they are going to get, on basis of that, they are going to select the field. But nowadays, the kids, they are sure about what they want to do. Okay, so it's not about taking gap. So whenever a Gen Z, if I talk about a Gen Z, and for this topic which I'm telling, a university education provides a structural learning, and which develops the professionals qualification networking opportunities. But when we talk about a gap year, it helps us for valuable real life world experiences. Okay, so students can travel, they can volunteer, they can work, they can learn new skills. A well planned gap can help them to achieve the goal which they want to. Okay, so I will just rather conclude with one thing, that for Gen Z, the smarter choice depends on an individual circumstances. Okay, so as per their experiences, they are going to gain the experience, and they are going to have a productive gap between this. So the smarter choice is not about following the trend. Usually, Gen Zs are, they follow the trend. So smarter choice is not about following the trend. It's about choosing the path which is going to help them to learn and prepare their future for a specific purpose. So I will just suggest that nowadays the Gen Zs are working on a specific purpose. So they have a purpose of life. We also used to have a purpose of life, but Gen Zs are more clear about what they wanted to do. So we should always guide them whenever it has been needed to you, needed for them. Thank you. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
sir. I'm audible. Uh, I'm very impressed with all the thoughts that have been put forward, but considering the latest trends in education and the system that has taken place over the past few years, I've been dealing mainly with grade 12 students. So right now also our, society is little bit orthodox where parents are concerned. You have talked about giving wisdom to Gen Z, but what about wisdom to the parents? They are the controllers and they are the, money providers. So the gap year gives a hard punch to the parents who keep on complaining that what has the student learned in the past 10 years if they were not able to score this much and get into a good career of their choice. So considering India right now, the stage that we are in, and the kind of changes that I have witnessed earlier, it was either getting into the medical stream or the engineering field. But in the past 5 years, humanities and commerce has built up a very strong market, and I have seen the number of students decreasing in medical and non-medical, and I have to make at least 2 to 3 sections for the commerce and humanities, because the educational fairs and the counseling that we are providing in our school, they are getting better integrated courses in the universities, and they're getting good placements and job opportunities abroad. So having said that, I think that university is a good choice at the moment, where placements and a solid career, and right now the children are and the parents, they're not waiting for grade 10 to come and then decide what they have to do. The generation is so smart that they are opting, like even CBSE is offering basic mathematics, standard mathematics, because they know that if the student is not going to take up sciences, they don't need standard mathematics. So CBSE and the NAP guidelines, they have already given a lot more scope for the students to shape their careers. And though gap year will give them time, but university will give them time with productivity.
I
Thank you.
think it's a very tedious question to whether have a gap year or to directly go to the university. As far as the society of India is concerned, I think it's a very, very difficult question to answer. It's an individual choice. In India, education is taken as a battlefield, and every battle needs to have a planning. And as far as and I'll discuss both the aspects and conclude in the end. Gap year will have to have a gap year, we need to have a clear planning first of all. If we want to go for internship skills, only then the student should go for gap year. Otherwise, he should back out. Sometimes students feel burnt out in their education experience, and they need to have a break. And sometimes they underperform. They need to explore themselves. They need to explore their potential. The gap year is the best way for them. It's better for them to have a gap year and explore their own personality, their potential, their weaknesses, and work on that. It's a very good way to self-discovery, as I've heard most of the intellectuals speak on this, that it's a very good way of self-discovery. I think it's also a very good way to discover real-world skills. And they will wake up to reality. They will understand what is adaptability, and they will be independent also. It's a very good way to have cross-cultural communication. And sometimes there are courses like if a person goes to Cairo for a dig in the pyramids, he will definitely have a better chances of approval in a university to have a paleontology department. There are examples of Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, they had a gap. but they had a stronger planning. If we want to go to a university, we need to have a field of choice. Most of the times it's been seen that parents impose their own choice, what they couldn't do in their life. They want their children to do that. I couldn't be a doctor. I want my son to be a doctor. This is what is going on. But it is Gen Z, as most of us agreed on this point. They have a different bent of mind. They want structured learning because they know that credentials will be valued ultimately in the end of the year. They will have better campus experience. They will go to the university. They will have a planned growth. And sometimes even in most of the universities, not only in India, but abroad also, in many of the nominated universities, it's very hard to enter a university when we have a gap there. So I believe if you have no plan, university is the best way. If you have a stronger plan, then definitely gap year can work for the betterment of your personality and your career as well. Thank you all very much.
I would like to say for the scholars, because are they ready? They are ready where they want to study, or they are still undecided which career they want to go. Is it the traditional route they want to follow, or the demands of the modern world they want to follow? Is it the parents' choice they want to follow, or their own choice they want to follow? First, answer this question. Once you have realized what you want to do with your life, then it is the right time to enter the field of your choice. So it is better when you don't have a structured career goal, well-defined career goal, then it is better to take a gap year. Because this gap year gives you time to recharge, introspect, retrospect, and self-analyze yourself, what you want to really do with your life. And this will always give you, when you are having a gap year, you will decide what you want to do with your life, right? You need to plan out your gap year very well. You can have new world experiences. It will help you build your maturity. You will experience things and how you want to go about with your life. It will prevent a burnout, because you have been fighting hard in your 10th and 12th to get good marks and everything, and a structured program you want to follow if you are very well defined with your career goals. So it will reduce the burnout from the scholars. It will help you gain the life skills and discover new horizons for yourselves, right? I would like to just add one example, because one of my students, she was a very brilliant student. She got into the medical grounds on the first attempt, cleared her MBBS, and when she went for her internship, the hard work that she had to put in, she felt that this is not the right choice for me to do. I cannot cope up with this pressure. Now, at this juncture of time when she wants to move out of this, but how is she going to discover her career now? Rather than experiencing what you want to do with your life with a gap year, that would be more beneficial for the student if she wants to go ahead. So I think I agree with Anita ji and Elisha ji that maybe the Gen Z should have new skills developed in this gap year, well-structured gap year with the self-assessment, plan their return, maintain a routine in this gap year, seek mentorship from mentors, do the self-assessment, and then move ahead with their careers in the life. Thank you. That's my view. Thank you very much.
The university ecosystem that we currently see was designed for the industrial age, when the career trajectory looked like something like this, that school, degree, and job. But currently, when you look at the kind of employment opportunities that are available, the trajectory has now changed from school to skilling to projects to networking and to opportunity. So it's a very different journey now. For the first time, it is happening that a Gen Z can build, their own career and become superbly successful while sitting in their bedroom.
Namaskar. Good evening to all learned speakers over here. Now, by the topic, right now, I am myself is still confused. The thing is, gap year is necessary for those who want to explore. That is, whether they want to learn or they want to enjoy coding, entrepreneurship, or working with people, though I belong to old school of thought where I would suggest for the university, because everywhere where you apply for a job, you must have a degree, diploma, a certificate, that is a credential. So credential signaling is very much essential in my view. So university provides that. Number one, here, once you are in university, you learn how to meet deadlines, how to work in a structured ecosystem. Then there is a networking also. You know that you don't know the person sitting next to you may be a entrepreneur who is going to find one startup in the later year, a future manager. There are so many things. So once you are working with a group, like in a university, you are now forced to meet those people. So university, in my view, it forces consistency. In a gap year, if the student, that is so-called Gen Z student, is disciplined, then it is okay. If he or she is consistent, then it is okay. But if he or she is not consistent, then university provides the platform which forces consistency, though this structure is not exciting one. But we have, it is a tested and verified system which produce better outcomes than pure freedom. Then there are access to opportunities like internship, research positions, career fairs are there, alumni networking is there, campus recruitment is there. So there are so many things. One can go for, this time is for the remote work is common in this era. Information is free on internet, and traditional career path, they are now less predictable. All right. Thank you, sir. So in my view, because as I have already said, I belong to old school of thought. In my view, instead of gap year, if a student is not disciplined or consistent, university is the best choice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Gap year as a choice is most successful in those countries where citizens have a sense of security. In all those countries where the citizen does not have a sense of security, gap year is the worst choice. Because we are not really choosing our career. Our fear is choosing for us. And you can all reflect on your own life for this time and just, think on this. When you were frightened, did you take the right decisions?
I did mention that in UK and Australia that percentage is high. If you remember 5% to 15%, which we are not having. It's all about mindset. The parents' mindset, the educators' mindset. But the teachers, school teachers today, they have playing a very, very crucial role, a catalyst they are. There are lots of teachers who I see, they are the people who can guide and mentor students. Acceptability is there, even in university system. One thing we've already forgotten is still the placement is happening in the institutions. As long as placement happens in all the universities and colleges, there will always be a sort of a scare around the world to, why should my child do this? My child has to go to the university because he has a good placement. That's how we all enter into institutions. We cannot negate that fact. So there is a guided approach. I would feel that a mentoring has to happen from school. And educators, teachers play a very crucial role over there.
I would definitely agree with Mr. Sandeep Shandelia. He said that if a child is disciplined, he definitely should go for a gap year. Otherwise, it's very difficult for him to keep the track. He will definitely go astray because discipline is very important. It has to go from right from the beginning, but it's been seen most of the time that during vacations, students don't follow their routine. So when they go for a gap year, it's very difficult for them to follow the academics. They will definitely fail in that. It's very important that a student who is disciplined, well disciplined, and he has to go for a gap year. Otherwise, he should not take chances, especially in countries like India.
I just wanted to add one thing, that is, we need to do the parent counseling more rather than doing the student counseling. See, I can quote my example only. It's a self experience. For 20 years, I did my pharmacy and I did as a job as a pharmacy and a national level sports coach. But my true calling came when I came into academics. The schooling structure, as I started with a part-time teacher with the college, and that gave me the right perspective of what I wanted to do with my life. So that thought has to go into the scholar's mind, what he really wants to do with his life, and then move ahead. Thank you.
I'd like to tell that what my reading about, because I am, AI person. So what my reading is, in 2 years down the line, probably most of the universities will go, without students. Most of them, they will prefer online courses. And at the same time, they are working in daytime or night, they are working and they are going for online courses and self-paced learning. And that will help them. So gap automatically, the question of gap, will go off. And that's the purpose of national skilling, what I meant to say, this thing. So that's what I wanted to add.
Education is evolving at a pace that could never have been imagined. And we are not able to pace up. So the question really is not whether, we need a gap year or we need a university. The real question or the real debate is whether the student should spend the most important years of their life in collecting credentials or discovering their capabilities. Thank you so much, everyone. This was the Blub World Web Talks 298th episode. I hope you enjoyed.